Doug Gottlieb Show, Fox Sports Radio. This just feels weird. Feels weird to say Washington Commanders. I don't know. Who do you play for? The Commanders. What league is that? The National Football League, right? I bring that up because Jonathan Allen's kind enough, the Pro Bowler's kind enough to stop by and hang out with us for a minute. And, yeah, I mean, like, look, you walk into a room and guys like, especially come out of the Super Bowl, I'm sure you get off the airplane like, hey, man, who you play for? You're like, the Commanders. Who? The Washington.
It's a funny story. I was at the Pro Bowl, and this guy's like, you got to play football. Who do you play for? And I was like, at first I wanted to say Redskins just because if you're not a fan of football, that's the easiest name for people to remember. Of course. But I was like, I play for the Washington Commanders. And he was like, oh, so, like, you're still trying to make the NFL, right? And I was like, no, like, that's the new name for the Washington football team, which was the Redskins. And then we just had a good laugh. And he was like, all right, well, I'm about to head to the Pro Bowl. Like, you should check it out. Like, I went to practice the other day, and it was great. And I was like, you know what? I think I might check it out.
What was the Pro Bowl like?
It was so surreal, just, like, hanging out with all the guys, seeing, like, even though I've been in the league for 5 years, when you see certain guys, it's like, man, like, I really, like, admire your game. I like the way you play. And just be able to share the field with them is an honor. Okay.
Who's the one guy who you didn't get a chance ever to meet previously and you met and you wanted to say that to?
Cam Jordan. I thought he was just so cool. Spent a lot of time with him, hung out. Just a good dude and even more of a baller on the field.
Yeah, no, he's one of those guys, and we're gonna have him, I think, later today. Is that right, Jay? Do we have Cam Jordan later today? Yeah, we have Cam Jordan next hour. Make sure and play that for him. But yeah, Cam he's a good dude. He kind of totally gets it, like very comfortable in who he is and what he does.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. What's your guys' season? You guys had so many injuries, I mean, last year obviously kind of snuck into the playoffs, obviously, but and you gave the Buccaneers as good a game as anybody. But to have the litany of injuries that you guys had, what was that like for you personally?
It's tough. It really is tough. And I feel like there's times where the worst thing you could do is blame your season on the injuries. Every team deals with injuries. Yes, I feel like we dealt with more than some of the other teams did. But when you give yourself an excuse or a way out, like, oh, we didn't do this because of injuries, or oh, we didn't do that because of injuries, it gives you an excuse. And excuses get you nowhere in the league. So I think for me personally, I just try to focus. I'm going to be the most consistent player I can be. I'm going to make sure obviously injuries, knock on wood, can happen anytime, and you can't plan for them. But, my whole mindset was just trying to make sure I'm the most consistent I can be for my team.
What has it been like for you? You've gone a transformation, not just from a great college player to a great pro player, but also the changing of the defense in Washington. What's that like for you in terms of going to work and doing what you do when you guys switch to the 4-3?
Coach Saban would always say you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And whenever you get comfortable, you don't have growth. So, it's definitely not something that I wanted to do at first. I was comfortable in the 3-4. I felt like that I could make plays there, but I feel like switching to the 4-3 has really, taken my career to the next level and made me re-challenge myself. And I feel like you have to do that every year in the NFL.
Yeah, there's no question. Which team do you find yourself kind of gravitating more towards in the Super Bowl, right? You got the Rams, which is kind of a list of, like, they got some dudes that everybody knows. They got some stars, right? But then the Bengals, they got some of these young cats on offense. You got a quarterback and a wide receiver who would kind of feel like they're taking the league by storm. But they got all kinds of other dudes as well. Joe Mixon is a running back. They got Tyler Boyd as well. Which team do you end up kind of gravitating more towards? Not necessarily thinking they're the better team, but the one that you enjoy more, you're more drawn to.
My whole family is from Cincinnati, Ohio. So when I say I grew up with the Carson Palmer and the Chad Johnson and the T.J. Houshmandzadeh, and I never forget when they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers in the first play, Carson Palmer throws like a 60-yard bomb to Chad Johnson, but blows his knee out.
And Kimo Van Oldhoffen rolled up on his knee.
Yeah, so I remember how much pain my family was in. So this Super Bowl is like, I really want the Bengals to win. I like Joe Burrow. There's just something about him. Like, how can you not like him? He just swagged up and just a good dude. But then I look at the matchup and I'm just like, the Bengals are going to need Joe Burrow's going to have to be Joe Burrow.
You mentioned Kimo Van Oldhoffen rolling up on Carson Palmer's knee. You obviously got a chance to play with Alex Smith going back 2 years ago. What was that like? You're sitting there. That dude's leg was mangled. But to have a guy like that make it back to the NFL as a guy on the younger side of what's going to be likely a 20-year career. What was that like for you?
It was tough. Team-wise, it was tough because we were 6-2, just beat the Cowboys and the Giants at home. We were feeling good, and after he went down, we won one more game for the rest of the season. For him, it was devastating, man. One thing is I always pray for health on both sides of the football because after I broke my foot my rookie year, that was my first time ever missing time because of an injury. I know what it does to a player, like emotionally, like you're depressed, like when you're not be able to be out there with your guys. And seeing him, I mean, we all thought that's the end of your career, and who wants to go out like that? So I think it's a testament to him to be able to fight back and come back. And man, Alex Smith is a dude. I love him.
Yeah, no, he's an amazing guy. We should point out that you're a pretty amazing person for all the things that you've done. That's why you've been recognized as a Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate. You're the candidate for the Washington football team. Was that with all the things you've done? Was that a thought in your mind? Right, like all these things I'm doing are going to be recognized. Like what has brought you to live this life of service?
The biggest thing that I always try to remind myself is when you're an NFL player, it's easy to become a little blown up. And I feel like I try really hard to bring myself back down in any way I can. I pray about it, and I just try to remember that winning this award will be huge. Not for me, just because I know the money is going to go to a great spot. And that's what I try to remind myself in anything, is to remember that. Football is what I do. It's not who I am.
Where's the money going to go?
It's going to go to Sasha Bruce Youth Work. They're a congregation of houses in the D.C. area that, some service single moms. The one I work with services underage youth who are kind of like not runaways but don't really have a place to go, homeless, so a bunch of stuff like that. And I know D.C. is a community that can use that money so well.
What made you want to get involved with them?
So I actually spent a little bit of time in a homeless shelter growing up. And when I first got to the league, I knew I wanted to do something with the community, but I wanted it to be more than just me donating. I wanted it to be something that I'm actually passionate about, so I would want to go back and help, and something that was close to home. So, after talking to Luke and my wife, and that's kind of what we thought of as a group would be the best way for me to give back and actually impact, not just slap my name on something and give it, but actually be a part of the community, let the kids see my face as someone who was in their position.
It's amazing. How were you able to persevere through those tough times? Like, what is, if somebody's listening and they're going through something or they want to relate it to somebody who's going through something like you went through when you were a kid, how did you persevere to live this dream?
I would say my brother. My brother was 7 years older than me. We were going through that at the same time, and without him, I don't think I'm here today. Obviously God blessed me tremendously, and understanding that I had somebody like my brother, I obviously understand I will never be that to another kid. I'll never be like a brother. But if I can be a face of familiarity, comfort, consistency, and not someone who's going to go over there and give them a motivational speech, but just really just spend genuine time with them and be real with them, answer the real tough questions that they're uncomfortable. They're very uncomfortable. And kids are brutally honest. So just try to be that consistent face, in their life as best as I can.
It's interesting because when you guys had the little sideline blow up, because of the reputation that you have, there wasn't a single person that was like, oh, Jonathan Allen, he's part of the – but I've been part of teams, like that stuff happens, right? Like guys are going to come at one another. What's it like to have something, you're playing in a game, you go at it with a teammate, and you get home and everybody's talking about it? What's that like from your perspective?
One of the hardest things about being in the NFL is everything you do is scrutinized and criticized. Right. And I understand that, and that's what we signed up for. And the thing I would never want to paint is the image that I'm a perfect person. I make mistakes all the time, literally all the time. I tweet dumb stuff. I say stuff. I just talk.
Right.
And one thing
you're a human being.
Yeah. One thing I pride myself on is I always try to answer questions honestly. And when I do that, I have to make sure I say it a certain way because, when you answer honest, there's going to be sensitive subjects that are talked about. But I'm human. And the biggest thing I've always learned is if you mess up, just stand up for it. Hey, that's on me. I apologize. I made that mistake. I'm going to learn. I'm going to grow from that. And it's tough because we live in a cancel culture society, but all I can be is who I can be. I'm going to try to lead with the best foot forward. I'm going to try to be genuine, authentic, and.
And maybe that's why you're Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate, because you are authentic, you are real, you are raw, and these things you're doing are absolutely things that help the community. Hey, man, great season. Thanks so much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you in a Commander uniform. I didn't like the red. I thought the black were okay. The white looks pretty clean. I like the white ones.
Wait till you see them in person. On camera, they look a little funny on camera, but in person, they don't give that same vibe. Maybe because the lights and the flash, and they might reflect a little bit. All I'll say to anyone who doesn't like it, which is a lot, which understandable, wait till you see them in person. Wait till you see a little dirt on them, a little mud, a little blood on them before you judge them. That's all I ask.
All right, just make sure you're careful when you're shaking hands and signing autographs at the stadium. We've seen what can happen. That thing gives way in a heartbeat. Thanks so much for joining us.
No, I appreciate it.
Jonathan Allen joined us on the Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio.